Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah and I wanted to welcome all of you to another installment of Monologue Monday here on my YouTube channel.
Monologue Monday.
If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for tuning back in, and I hope you can take something away from this video as well. With all of that being said, let's get into this installment of Monologue Monday. So for this episode of Monologue Monday, I wanted to share my personal opinions on something that I think is a huge way that you can save yourself a lot of money, and maybe even the majority of money, and it's not probably something that you would initially think of. I think if you were to ask people, what is a good way that you can save money, people would say, well, cut back on going out to eat, cut back on entertainment, cut back on, rent, maybe move into a smaller place, maybe move back home, maybe, live in a box. I don't really know. But I think there's one that people oftentimes miss. And this is, of course, actually doing things for yourself. I think we live in a world today where things are very easily accessible, right? And this is only expedited by marketing and our phones and our computers and ads and so on, where there's a service for everything, right? There are literally companies, legitimate companies that you can go to get your back scratched, right? And you'll pay, quite a bit of money, I'm assuming, but you'll be able to get your back scratched. There's companies that will basically do anything and everything. It's very hard to find an idea or something, like a product idea or anything, a service idea that actually isn't already being done. But basically the point here is that the world, the economy wants you to pay to do everything, right? You want your shoes shined, pay someone to do it. You want your lawn mowed, pay someone to do it. You want your windows washed, pay someone to do it. It's just everything is a transaction. And I think this has kind of created a population of people that think that this is the norm, where if you need something done, call someone to do it, rather than looking at it yourself and saying, okay, well, what do I need to do to fix it? A perfect example that I can think of are with vehicles, right? People buy vehicles. Everybody's got a vehicle, right? Especially here in the United States. And I think this is unfortunate. I'm not going to really get into it, but you need a vehicle to do anything, right? There's very rare instances where you can kind of get by without a vehicle and still feel like you can be, travel around the city and not be stuck in, in your apartment or your, 1 block radius or something like that. But that's the reality, right? So basically everybody's got a car. Now the question becomes, do people actually know anything about their vehicles? Can they do anything when it needs to be done, when a service needs to be done, when a light comes on, anything like that, right? And I think the answer is no. So people spend huge amounts of money, right? I see it, on my own people that are that I'm friends with on social media, right? People that have $30, $40, $50, $60,000 cars that likely don't know anything actually about them, right? And this is kind of problematic, because if you're going to invest that much money into something similar to a stock market or a house or a property, you need to know what's going on, right? At least in my case, I don't personally have a car right now, but if I were to buy one, I would ensure that I knew pretty much how to do everything except change the engine on a car, just because when you're putting that much money into something, you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of it, right? But that's just not the case for a lot of individuals, I think. And obviously there's many more examples other than vehicles that I can... Now, of course, there's many more examples other than just vehicles. Not enough time in this video, unfortunately, but the point remains the same, that people... when things go wrong with your vehicle, for example, it's, the light goes on, it's basically a pager to go to the dealership, right? Go to the dealership and spend, a minimum of $500-$600 to get something simple done that you could have done on your own. But this is becoming a norm for anything that goes wrong in our lives, right? And I think this is problematic, because not only from a financial perspective, but from a individual's perspective, where people don't want to do, they don't have initiative to do things on their own anymore. And I think this is not a good way that we kind of want to grow up, right? We want to grow up looking at things that are broken or need fixing, and want to take initiative to do something for ourselves, right? Rather than just taking the easy option, which is actually the harder option, because you're wasting money and having someone do it for you. Of course, I want to leave you with a personal example that I had quite recently, where before I kind of got rid of my car, I took it to, the light came on, it was leaking, and I took it into one of the local auto shops and got a quote, basically, right? They looked at everything, brought it up, they looked at everything, looked at the engine, looked at the wheels, the frame and everything, and they quoted me for about $6,500 to get it into a shape that would be comfortable, that someone would be comfortable using it on the road and fixing the leak and so on. And for me, that was a huge amount of money that I wasn't about to spend on that, right? Considering the car probably wasn't even worth that much at the time. So I thank them for checking it out for me, and I sat with it, right? I did my own research. I looked into what they said the problems were, and I looked into how to fix them. And was it a hassle to do? Yes, it was. It did take some weeks of just kind of keeping it in the shed and going under it and trial and error and buying parts. But at the end of it, to get everything done that they wanted $6,500 for, I was able to do with about $300. Maybe upwards of like $450, $500, but it really wasn't that much, to the point where I don't actually know how much it was, because the parts generally just weren't that expensive. So let's assume that I spent $500. A savings of $6,000 is substantial, right? That's the amount that you can use to max out a Roth IRA contribution on a yearly basis, and they want it. And a lot of people may have just paid that to get their car in working condition again. And I love this example just because of how serious it actually is, right? Getting the parts really is not that expensive, and actually doing the work is a challenge. But the lessons that we take away from doing things on our own, and I'm not to say I'm going to start working on cars, but being able to apply yourself to something difficult like that, like getting under a car is, and learning new terms and where things go, and all of that kind of stuff is extremely important, I think, in all of our development. And if it can save you money along the way, I don't know why you wouldn't take the option to actually do more things on your own. So there you go. Those are my thoughts as to a method that people don't usually think about when they're trying to save money. But of course, I want to hear from you guys as well. What are some methods that you think people don't utilize to their full extent to save money and better their financial standing? Please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. With all of that being said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. And as always, happy financing.